Afternoon all. I've decided to put a little video together because unless you've had your head in the sand or something, you might have noticed that Batshuayi, or whatever his name is, has signed for Chelsea. And on the forum, there's lots of people very, very disappointed. I've noticed on Twitter, there's a lot of people disappointed. And I found it quite hard to be that annoyed about it, to be honest with you, because I've never really seen the bloke play apart from when he scored that tap-in for Belgium in the last round. So what I've started to do is started to look and delve a little bit into some of the other players that we've been linked with. So I've got my laptop in front of me and I'm going to post a few clips, and so I can perhaps show you a little bit about what some of them are about. I mean, but do bear in mind that Julian Fobet's YouTube clips were pretty damn good, and he turned out to be a load of rubbish, really, didn't he? So it might not be completely telling, but it might give you an idea, because I do not watch hardly any European football at all, so I don't know who most of these players are. So if, like me, you don't know your Fagulis from your Umtitis and you just think life is too short to watch Besiktas play Tottenham in the Europa League, then I'll try and give you a little bit of information on what some of these players are doing and what they can offer to West Ham. Right, I mean, first of all is Lacazette. Now, his name's been bandied around all summer, really, and before. He's at Olympique Lyonnais. He scores about 1 in 2. He's a little fella, and I've spoken to a few people about him, and he's a bit of a magician. He's a striker, but he's pretty much as far away from Andy Carroll as you can get. I don't think he drifts out wide quite as much as Sacco does, and they want about 40 million quid. I initially thought it was 40 million euros, but I think they actually want 40 million pounds sterling from him. Now, Olympique Lyonnais were a bit skint. They needed to sell him, or they needed to sell someone, but they've signed a defender called Samuel Umtiti, who we were linked with previously. They've just sold him to Barcelona, which I think is probably the first centre-back Barcelona has signed in quite some time, which apparently has taken the pressure off. But I do think if we were to bid the 40 million that Olympique Lyonnais want, then I'm pretty sure they would sign him. As I say, his career stats, he scored 92 goals in 229 games. He's French, for those of you that don't know, but quite tellingly, he is only on the reserves list for France. So he's not been taken. Now, it's also a bit of a lopsided league. PSG won the league by a country mile last season. Olympique Lyonnais were quite far behind. He was the second top scorer in France last year. Batshuayi, who's just signed for Chelsea, I believe, was the third. Just on that Batshuayi, I do believe we had I think it was £31 million bid accepted, but he wanted to go to Chelsea, having said all summer he only wanted to go to a Champions League club, so he signed for Chelsea, who don't have any European football at all. But we did have a bid accepted, so it's hard to know what more we could have done. I think the Crystal Palace bid probably flushed the rest of it out, really. Back on Lacazette, as I say, he's come from a dodgy league, but so did Payet, and he was absolutely brilliant last season, but rather than being, you know, sort of better than Zidane or Super Slavers man or whatever, I'm not entirely sure that the French manager, Deschamps, thinks he's better than Olivier Giroud, so that might be quite telling. But you've used some of the footage he's running now, and you'll have seen him. He looks quite a skillful, diminutive, small player. This is really this next link, which is Mauro Icardi. Now, he's really cropped up more in the news, far more recently than Lacazette. He plays for Inter Milan, which obviously traditionally is a big European club, and you might think that it'd be hard for us or any other Premier League club to lure a player from Inter Milan. But the Premier League's awash with money. You've seen Crystal Palace, they just signed Townsend for 13 million. They bid 31 million for Batshuayi. I think they're about to bid 25 million for Benteke, as well as, it says 12.5 for Tompkins. I believe the figure is closer to 10, but it shows that they're willing to spend 40, 50 million this season. Stoke have everyone's got a lot of money. The TV deal with Sky and BT is big, so it puts clubs like West Ham on a level really a bit above. We basically generate more money than teams that are traditional giants like Inter, AC Milan, those type of clubs. So anyway, this bloke Icardi, he's Argentinian. He's got a pretty good record, to be fair. Inter Milan, 47 goals in 88 games, which is impressive because you know how tight and cynical the Italian defences are. So I mean, he's done well to score that many. What's it? 5'11", decent striker. He's only played once for the national team apparently, but judging by, again, the YouTube clips, what else have I got to go by? He looks a decent player. But apparently, I'd read a rumour that they'd turned down a big bid from somebody for him. So I think Inter will be looking for sort of 40 million quid for that guy. The next one, Gürkan Torre. I don't know, but we've been linked with him ever since Bilic came. He played under Bilic at Besiktas, and he looks okay. He looks a feisty one. He was serving a ban for Turkey, which is why he wasn't in the Euros this time. He's okay. He got 9 assists last season. He's a Turkish well, he's not actually. He's German, but he plays for Turkey. He was born in Germany. But not that stops anyone international football these days anyway. He's a decent enough winger. He's relatively skillful. I don't think the club are ready to spend the money that Besiktas want for him. I think they want 12, 13 million. I think the club perhaps look at that Turkish league, and I know particularly some of the comments that have come out from a couple of the sources today with regard to a couple of the other players. I think it was Van Persie. We were linked with Van Persie. And I think the quote was, he was third top scorer in that league. And I think, bearing in mind, he's a sort of bit of a busted flush, really. It's hard to be totally, too reflect. The stats don't reflect a player's ability too well because they're inflated because the league is not very good, is what I'm trying to say. We'll put it this way, Hugo Rodallega was the second top scorer in the league, which says everything really, doesn't it? So, yeah, so anyway, Bilic wants him, and you know Bilic does get the best out of players, and so yeah, as I say, he's a winger. I think he's left-footed, plays on the right or the left, would be a good squad player. But you know, we tend to play Payet from the left. Hopefully he's staying. I think he probably is. And we've signed this Feghouli chap. Obviously, we've had Antonio been playing at right back. Loads of us, including me, would love to see him playing right wing. Scores a lot of goals. Gets a lot of headers, gets assists, and just causes havoc, really. So it's tough to see where this guy, Gürkan Torre, would fit in. I'm also looking forward to seeing Samuelson as well. But as I say, he's worked with Bilic before. Bilic wants him, so that really could be you know, something quite special. The next guy is very, very interesting. His name's Jonathan Calleri. Not much is known about him. There have been small links, whispered links, all through the summer sort of transfer. Well, the transfer window only just started, but all through the summer and since the season's ended. He's Argentinian. He played in the same Boca Juniors team just recently as Carlos Tevez, and he looks really, really skillful. And I'm going to post a video now of him doing some ridiculous, they call it the Rabona or something. Anyway, he's flicks the ball up, wraps one foot behind the other, chips it into the goal. Very, very good. He would be one for the future. He wouldn't cost a lot of money, but you know, you've got to take a gamble with these players. There's rumoured about 5 million might get him, and he is now at Sao Paulo in the Brazilian league. So that tends to be, I think that's a level up from the Argentinian league, where Boca Juniors, River Plate, they sort of vie for those top places. But actually, it's a competitive league. The Brazilian league's the one. So he went on loan there. I think that I don't think the stats have been updated here on it, but I understand he played 12 games for Sao Paulo. He scored 10 goals in 12 games. Very, very skillful player. Diminutive little fella again. He's 22 years of age, and obviously he's not played any international football or anything yet, but may well be worth a punt, may well be worth a gamble. Another South American who we seem to be linked with quite a lot is Carlos Bacca. Now, Bacca is Colombian. Colombian's not got a great reputation for playing well in England. Asprilla was okay, wasn't he? I think recently Chelsea had Cuadrado, perhaps that was his name. Chelsea had a winger, didn't really work out, bought him for big money, sold him on again pretty quickly. He's a sniffer, he's a poacher, he's your fox in your box, I think, Bacca. I've spoken to a couple of people about these guys. I say my knowledge is is pretty wafer thin, but I just figured if my knowledge was paper thin on this, there'll be a lot of you watching this and watching the links thinking, I've never heard of this guy. So this is really for you. If you watch the French League and you watch, well, he's in Italy now, then you're going to know all about these guys anyway. Bacca played for Sevilla. He under Unai Emery. You may remember we were linked with him as one of the 10 or 20 people that we allegedly approached before Bilic. So he won the Europa Cup twice with Sevilla. He played for a pretty crap AC Milan team last season and did very, very well. Again, scored a goal every other game in Italy, which, as we spoke about with Icardi, that's a really good thing. And it was probably worth saying, I don't think he had as good a supply at Milan as Icardi might have had at Inter. But he's a real sniffer, as I say. He had a good goal scoring record at Sevilla as well. He started off in Belgium at Bruges. He's 29 now. So I believe they might have already turned down 25 million euros for him. You have to do the calculation yourself. Don't know what that is in pounds. But I think once you start getting into paying 20 odd million for someone that's 29 from a country that doesn't particularly have a reputation of their players settling particularly well, I think that might be a little bit risky. But the top targets are dropping like flies. So we all, I think as a club, start working our way down the list. So he's another one. Also, I mean, I think when Bilic has played his teams, there's either a long ball, a crossed ball, or for the set plays up to Carroll. That's one way to play. I think when Sacco has played, then he very much runs a channel. He works very, very hard. And I think, maybe a fox in the box doesn't particularly suit that style of play, which is maybe what I'd say with Lacazette as well, although Lacazette seems to be a little bit more skillful than this guy. But his goal-scoring record's good, and he's been in the Copa America, was just on recently, and he performed pretty well in that as well, so some of you may have watched that. Just finally, and we have been linked to some others, but these are really the big ones. I've not done Premier League. You can make up your own mind on Benteke. You've all seen him play. He was great at Villa, not so good at Liverpool. That's up to you. Berahino, we get linked with a little bit, not as much as I'd like. I really rate him. I think he's going to score goals. I think he's a natural finisher. Possibly got a bit of an attitude problem, but maybe Bilic is the man to sort it out. Bilic is an excellent manager. So English-based players, you can make up your own minds on. The last guy, and in all honesty, this one fills me with dread, fills me with horror, and I was saying this, you can check on the forum, I was saying this long before he did this dancey thing. I don't know what he's doing. That's a terrible penalty anyway. It's Simone Zaza, Simone Zaza, whatever his name is, it's Zaza. I'm not very impressed. He struggles to get into an Italian team that can't score goals. I've got his stats here in front of me. I'm looking down at the laptop now. Atlanta didn't score for him. Sampdoria, a couple of games didn't score for him. Went out on loan to a second division Italian team, played 4 games, didn't score, went to somewhere else, scored okay. I mean, he's been on loan to clubs I've never heard of apart from Ascoli, heard of them, didn't do bad, 18 in 35. He's not been prolific. And people will say he has not really had much of a chance, but do you know what? He started playing professional football in 2008, 2016. He scored 5 goals in 19 for Juventus. His supporters are quite quick to, whenever I've sort of questioned his pedigree, have been quite quick to point out some were substitute appearances and whatnot, which I suppose is a fair point. He's played 14 times for Italy and he scored 1 goal, and he certainly didn't score that penalty. I don't know. He's 25 years of age. He's 6'1". He's sort of in between. I think we've got a good target man. I think he doesn't seem particularly quick. He doesn't seem to have particularly good ball control from what I've seen. I don't know. I think there's probably better out there and for less money. But I just wonder as top targets start getting knocked off or going elsewhere, that we might end up with this guy. But there you go. There's a little bit of information for you. You can agree with me, disagree with me. If you want to, come and join us on our free forum, which is, there you go, hammerschat.com. You can join us on there. You can sort of pretty much say what you want, agree with me, disagree with me. There's loads of us on there all having a debate about this sort of thing. There's lots of people on the forum that know far more about it than I do, and they're very well informed. So if you've got a question about somebody, we have a few sourdoughs on there, to be honest with you. Spend their time watching the French league and the Spanish league, and they just immerse themselves in football. Got nothing better to do. They're lovely fellas though. They'll chat with you all day long about this sort of thing. We've also got our app. Search for West Ham app. Look for that icon, basically. But if you go onto the forum, then there are a couple of links there. We've got the Apple version and, of course, the Android version. Just finally, if anything does happen, it will be on the app, because we've got Claret and Hugh on the app, West Ham Till I Die. We've got the official club on there. More than just a podcast, we've got these sorts of videos. We've got Blowing Bubbles magazine, and, of course, we've got the forum itself. So if anything happens, it's going to be on there. Until next time, and until I can give you some more information, you know what, we might even sign any of these guys, but at least next time when you pick up the newspaper or you open up Facebook or do whatever you do and it says we are linked with Lacazette or Lacazette is no longer, we're gherkin toward, the deal is stalling, at least you might have a bit of an idea who these guys are, because in all honesty, I didn't have a Scooby.